Hello everybody! Today I'm finally here with the fully painted ensemble of miniatures coming from the Dungeons and Dragons board game called Legend of Drizzt. I bought them fairly cheaply off eBay, unpainted without the rest of the board game, and I thought this will be a nice exercise to try some of the different painting techniques and to learn a little bit, because I was a total newbie to miniature painting. And you know, if you ruin them, at least they didn't cost much, because like what you see over here cost me approximately like $20. It took me way longer to paint all of them, but I'm finally done and I will not do any refining touches on these ones. You know, I'm quite happy with how they turned out. There's definitely some progress to be seen, starting from the very first ones that I painted from the batch towards the final one, which is the Ertu Baylor, the main villain of the whole board game. So let's go through all of them and as well take a look at some of them more closely. Drizzt and Gwenhwyvar, his companion Pet Panther, were probably one of the first ones that I started painting over here. So yeah, here you can take a closer look at what I managed or didn't manage over here. Still not too terribly bad, especially if you are using just as, you know, tabletop miniatures, so nobody's gonna take a very close look at them. But yeah, this was as well learning on how to paint the cloak, so I tried my best at that time. Not the greatest, not the most terrible, I would say. Wulfgar and Catti-brie as well followed shortly after. I know that painting Wulfgar wasn't the most difficult. He was quite fun and simple. Catti-brie was though on the more difficult side, because the miniature in general is regarded as the worst one in the whole game. It's almost featureless, the face doesn't look like anything, so you have to kind of improvise and hope for the best. The last three good characters in the game contain Regis the Halfling Rogue, Brunor Battlehammer, which I'm quite happy with, and I like the beer on the shield, and probably the one that turned out the best is the Dwarf Battle Rager. These three spider swarms were again very easy to paint, because yeah, it's just a pile of vermin. Simply I added some of the tiny white dots to enhance the details of the venomous spiders, and yeah, I as well tried to give them slightly different shade of color, so they are easier to recognize when you're using them as well in D&D game. These three hypnotic spirits all use slightly different shade of blue achieved by the ink, and then it's just dry brushed over with white paint, and then I simply just added the eyes for the extra detail. But I think these turned out pretty well, and again didn't take very long to paint them. Continuing with the other transparent or translucent figures, these are the three water elementals that are as well part of the game. Each of them has slightly different shade of the mouth and eyes to be able again to differentiate them on the battlefield. These drow duelists were as well painted fairly quickly. It's simply black background, white hair, the eyebrows, and then a little bit of detail on the weapons, and then dry brushed armor, which I think looks good enough. Simple, quite effective. I had quite a lot of fun with these three hunting drakes. The red one unfortunately arrived with a missing section of the tail, so I needed to add something that would be stable enough so it wouldn't break off with every contact. But yeah, you can see how I experimented as well differently with the different shades of the scale, different colors of the bellies, and different colors of the eyes on all three of them. I decided to put all the Goblin Archers, Cutters and the Iron Tooth in this group because they have very similar size, very similar features. I tried as well different colors of the skin for the Archers than on the Goblin Cutters. Each of them has as well slightly different colors of the clothes. So yeah, these were quite painful because they are so tiny, and like painting the teeth on them was really difficult for my shaky hands, but yeah, I'm quite happy with how they turned out, and like from afar they look perfectly fine. These trolls were as well some of the minis that I started painting in the early stage when I got the miniatures for this game, and yeah, especially enjoyed doing the dry brushing over the verrucas and all the pimples that they have over their faces and the backs. There's a slightly different shade of the hair color on them to be able again to differentiate them in the battlefield. Here we have Artemis Entreri, the Mind Flayer Telepath, and the Jarlaxle, and I have to say, even though the Mind Flayer Telepath was painted as the first one, I am the most happy with how it turned out, because yeah, somehow I managed to get in all the details. I as well added a little bit of checkered pattern on his robe at the front, so you will see that the tiny squares are of blue and black color with tiny bit of shading and wash over. The Yoklal and the Shimmergroom Shadow Dragon were as well painted at quite an early stage, but when I showed the pictures of the Yoklal to a friend of mine who is kind of a miniature painting pro, he was like, dude, you're getting really way better. So yeah, I'm still quite happy with how especially the red at the end of Tentacles turned out. And on Shimmergloom I really do like the contrasting azure eyes and the crest on the spine against the purple and light grey on the belly. Here we have the Drow Wand Mage, the Drow Arachnomancer, and the Dryder Fanglord as well. Yeah, I as well did something else for each of them, but I think they turned out quite well. I'm quite happy, especially with the spider body of the Dryder Fanglord and the details that I managed to put around the legs and the back of the spider. Last but not least, we have the main villain, the R2 Baylor, which took quite a while, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. Accessing some of the parts of the miniature was almost impossible, but on the other hand, one guy as well told me, like, you know, if you can't reach there with your brush, nobody can see if it's painted well or not. And I kind of went by this, so I focused mainly on the face, some details alongside the horns, and the weapons as well. This is it. These are all the 40-something miniatures from the Dungeons & Dragons board game Legend of Drizzt that I managed to paint throughout 3-4 years maybe. Yeah, I know I'm slow. But yeah, let me know which one is your favorite in the comments, and if you liked watching the video, don't forget to hit like and feel free to subscribe if you are new over here. And until next time everybody, stay safe, take care, and bye bye.